that there's a crew in town. The head hillbillies are making their rounds. Small town whispers loud and clear. The sheriff shot the judge in his chambers chair.
Sheriff got a secret he won't keep. Judge shot dead in his disbelief. A lot of people have some stories to tell. Dark pass away, get the sound of a shotgun shell.
All the secrets spill on down. Voices loud in this old town. From the courthouse to the ground. Rumors fly and they can't be bound.
Neighbors hide behind their blinds. Whisper tales of troubled minds. Skeletons covering the mountainside. A treacherous reality in the pines.
Winter reveals the hidden lies. Moonlight couldn't mask their cries. Shadows caught in sunlit skies. There's no cover, no disguise. All the secrets spill on down. Voices loud in this old town. From the courthouse to the ground. Rumors fly and they can't be
Winter reveals the hidden lie. Moonlight could mask their cries. Shadows caught in sunlit skies. There's no cover, no disguise.
all the secrets spill on down. Voices loud in this old town. From the courthouse to the ground. Rumors fly and they can't be bound.
Hello, everybody. Good evening, good evening, good evening. If you've not been here before, welcome to our channel. My name is Elizabeth, and this is Hillbilly Crime. Sweet Tater's not going to be joining us tonight. It was too late. So, let's see. Facebook official and the new relationship status. Does anybody know what I'm talking about? Well, I just think that this new Facebook official relationship status was kind of tone deaf, especially with everything that has been going on lately. Now, I pulled up the news footage. I'm going to show you what I'm talking about with the relationship here in just a second. But we've got the funeral of Judge Mullins. So there was a few news networks who showed up for the funeral. They didn't have it at the funeral home because they expected a whole lot of people to come. So they ended up having it up here at the high school, and they had it in the gym. And so we're going to watch that for just a minute and let you guys see just how the I don't know, just how it felt at that day.
Letcher County Judge Kevin Mullins' funeral was Sunday in the Jenkins High School gymnasium. Mullins was slain Thursday after police say the county's sheriff Mickey Stines, shot and killed the judge in his chambers following an argument. Mourners made up of family and community members, as well as Mullins' former co-workers, filed into the gym late Sunday afternoon for services. The high school gym, Cavalier Gymnasium, with a seating capacity of 3,000, was mostly filled by 2 p.m. for visitation, and more so by the time the 3 o'clock service began. A Pike County native, Mullins was the district court judge in Letcher County for 14 years. Prior to his appointment to the bench, he served as Letcher County's assistant Commonwealth Attorney for 9 years.
Did you all hear that? That's something I hadn't heard before. He was a Pike County native. So does that mean Judge Mullins came from Pike County originally? That's what it sounds like, ain't it? That's the first time I've ever heard that.
Reporting for Mountaintop News, I'm Sheldon Lee Compton. Letcher County Judge.
Interesting. So that had a few different little clips in it from Mountaintop News. It had a little bit of video from in front of the courthouse that day. And then it had video from the school up here. They actually put out a picture of the funeral. And let me see. We're going to look at the video again that just came out, because one thing that I've noticed is that the more you watch something, the more you catch. You know, I've always wondered with investigators, whenever they're investigating a big case, you know, and they've got some video footage, do they just watch it one time, or do they watch it over and over and over again? Because usually you'd want to watch something like that over and over again just so you can see. I thought it was right here where I could easily get to it. I'll have to dig that out later. Okay, so let's go back over here to this, and we're gonna watch a little bit of this video.
There. You know, on the other hand, you know, what is the mystery here? There's something going on with Sheriff Stines, who's going to shoot this judge in about an hour. And it's just bewildering what's going on.
Okay. Now, this video footage that we're watching right here. So this is Ben Fields' wife. I don't know how I missed it the other night. I don't know how. Plus, we're going back on Court TV on Monday. So they reached back out to us and asked us if we would come back on Monday. So I'm wondering if they don't have a little bit more video that they're going to show us. Because it looks to me like each time they have a show, they give us just a little bit more and a little bit more and a little bit more. Now, I wanted to talk about something tonight. How comfortable do you think that little chummy smoke room was for Mickey? So they terminated Ben. He went to jail, in his own jail, where he had worked for over 10 years, or around 10 years. Him and his wife both worked there for years. That's where they met, from what I understand. That's where they met. She was married to somebody else when they met. And hanky-panky went on upstairs in the bathroom in the courthouse. And the next thing you know, them two are getting married. and they've been together, and they work together in the jail. Now, I don't know exactly when she left the jail and went upstairs. I don't know if it was before Ben started to serve his sentence or after. But it really didn't matter because they all had the run of the jail down there. Even if she would have been working upstairs, I feel safe to say that she probably was allowed to come into the jail, at will whenever she wanted. Now I am speculating that, but I did have several sources that whenever we were discussing Ben's sentence and his 6-month stay down there at the jail, that said she was allowed to come in and hang out with him in his cell as long as she wanted, whenever she wanted. The door was never to be shut or locked if he didn't want it to be locked. He was immediately made a trustee in the jail, which gave him special privileges. But they were very quick to jump up and say he didn't get any more special privileges than the rest of the trustees. So apparently the trustees have the run of the jail. There have been so many people reach out to me with so many stories. And I have to admit, I'm nobody. Okay. First of all, I am absolutely a big old nobody. I don't know anything that firsthand that would be newsworthy in this case. I struggled with my addiction when I lived over across the mountain in Harlan County in Cumberland. When I had moved over here to Letcher County, I had cleaned my act up. So I didn't never have any interactions with these police officers over here where I was out running around committing crimes and I was being arrested. So I was never put in that position that these women were put in this jail, in this county. We've said it several times. It's not women who they actually find attractive. This isn't about smacks. This is about control, and it's about power. 2 of the women, one, Sabrina. Now, Sabrina recently, a few weeks ago, got arrested for shoplifting in Pike County. At least I think it was in Pike County. And so that was kind of like a big thing. It was going around all the local news outlets and stuff that the victim of this and the lady who had filed this civil suit had now been arrested for shoplifting. And I'd have to say her life is probably very, very hectic. She probably doesn't have any privacy whatsoever. And she still struggles just because all of this has happened and she's filed this suit. I'm sure an addict never just is miraculously healed and they never have to worry about it again, So we're going to see a continuation of their lifestyle. The other girl, Tasha, who was the TikTok girl, she got on TikTok and made a whole bunch of accusations and told a whole bunch of things that had happened to her. Well, I told you the other night that she had been arrested. It was on the Commonwealth Attorney's grand jury list. Well, I read the newspaper article today when I was in town, and so apparently she had worked at Food City, and they gave her a job as like a manager or some higher level worker, employee over the alcohol department, over the liquor department. Now, who in the world could have seen that going all bad? I mean, this is like my biggest pet peeve, or well, it's one of them, is the personnel decisions, hiring decisions. I'm not saying that she couldn't have absolutely been a great success, but when you have an addict who is in early recovery, and I don't care if it's just 3 years in, that's still an early recovery, especially with the statistics of relapse. Okay. And lifestyle and environment, home environment, all those things matter. And so anyway, she was in this position, and apparently they had caught her on camera, allegedly. And of course, she's innocent until proven guilty. But it said in the paper that the police officer went up there and they pulled the video footage and they looked at it, and they could see that she had figured out a way to manipulate the money in the cash register. So she had allegedly stolen over 1,000, but under 10,000. Well, that's a great big gap. That's a big old window. But they said that she had allegedly stolen a great deal of money. I don't know if those were the exact words that they used, but it was something to that effect. And another source of mine had said that she was caught, not just caught stealing money, but also like alcohol. Shocker. Shocker. But so they testified, it said in the article that the police officer testified at the grand jury, and they returned an indictment on her. And so now it's some kind of a theft charge, and a PFO, which is a persistent felony offender. And I went back and I looked at her previous charges, and I think it was from 2018 or 2019. And she had also been charged as a persistent felony offender then too. And it made me start thinking of how many times they charge people with PFOs. That's like an automatically add-on 10-year sentence to your sentence. A PFO. I think it's a 10-year, if I'm not mistaken. It's an additional 10 years on top of whatever else they're going to give you. And oftentimes I've seen them where they will dismiss the PFO, into from a plea bargain. And so, I just want, with this video here, so that was kind of the news on the two ladies. And it just reinforces what we've said all along, on who they choose to do this kind of thing to. And so we've all heard the story. Well, I don't know if some of you all new people have not heard it. The day that Mickey went in there and pew-pewed the judge, me and my girlfriend went down there, and I thought there was going to be people everywhere. I was thinking we were going to have to park up on the highway, I just figured it was a crazy scene down there. Absolutely wrong. No. It was like a ghost town. There wasn't nobody down there. There were a few people at Summit City, the little bar that's down the street, across the street from Streetside, the restaurant where they had lunch. And Streetside would have normally been open, but they went ahead and closed. So as soon as we got up there and walked down the street, we started to go to Streetside, and they were like, no, we're closed. So we walked over to Summit City. And we heard all of the chaos and excitement that had taken place right before we got there. Apparently, one of the local news outlets, had sent a reporter. And so he was up there on the street, and he had his camera with him. And I don't know if he had it on his shoulder or if he was putting it on his tripod. I'm not sure. But apparently, our Commonwealth Attorney sitting here, Matt Butler, his ex-wife, who is the sister-in-law of the judge, I reckon she allegedly acted really bad. She knocked that man's camera off, whether it was on his shoulder or on his tripod, I'm not sure, but she knocked his camera over. What they told us was that she hit him in the head, and just acting awful. And there were several other girls that were down there with the judge's wife. The judge's wife was in the bank there. And there were several of their school women that they'd went to school with and their friends. And they were just walking up and down the middle of Main Street with just madder than hell, mean mugging everybody. Apparently before we got there, the ladies in the bar told us that his ex-wife, the sister-in-law, allegedly she ran up and grabbed somebody's phone out of their hand and took off running with it and jumped in his vehicle. And he had to go get the lady's phone back, allegedly. Now, this is what they told us happened. And he had to go get the phone back, this lady's phone back from his ex-wife, and take it back to her and apologize. So whenever we were there, I wanted to, that's why we went down there, was because I wanted to get some video and some pictures and stuff. I was terrified. I was scared to death to pull my phone out of my purse. I was afraid I'd get beat up. Now, if I knew what I know now, I would have pulled my phone out. But that day, I was intimidated. I ain't gonna lie. I was scared to pull my phone out. And it was very uncomfortable. It was very uncomfortable. They just kept walking up and down the street. Like they'd go back down to their car and get something, and then they'd go back up, and they were just walking like mean walking. I don't know how you even say it. It was just very, very, very uncomfortable. The whole atmosphere was. And I asked that little news reporter, I said, well, are you going to tell that story? And he said, oh, no, no, I'm not going to do that. And I said, well, why not? I said, she can't hit you like that. And he's like, no, I won't. And it come to find out later, they said that it was because the way that the police officers acted. The police saw her do that, and they didn't get mad at her. They didn't tell her to stop. They were turning their anger, I don't know, their bad attitude, their rudeness towards that little reporter fella, like it was his fault. At least that was the perception of the other people that were there. And he was the guy I'm thinking of, the officer that I'm thinking of, he was putting that yellow tape up, the yellow crime scene tape up. And we've got video of him. When we went up there, he was like, "What are you doing here? You shouldn't be here." Like they didn't want us there. They didn't want anybody there. Except every police officer from every agency, every department in Letcher County showed up. And it didn't matter. Every single police officer showed up. And pretty much every ambulance, I'd say, and firemen and EMT, everybody in the county showed up that day. Very, very odd. Okay, I wrote me a little thing here. Let me go look at it. So this whole thing just keeps getting deeper and more twisted. So now Mickey's defense is basically saying, well, what did we learn the other night from his attorney? We learned that when Mickey went to go deliver those food boxes, and remember I told you my source from down there at Kane Kitchen told us that it was very strange. They usually deliver much more than just 2 boxes. But that day, they just found it very odd that they had only picked up 2 food boxes. And apparently Mickey found it odd too. And so his attorney pretty much said that Mickey felt like he was being lured. And this is my recap of what I perceived him to say. And you all tell us if you think anything different. It was as if he felt like he was being lured into an isolated area where he could be harmed. So if he's already feeling this, and which we know he was, right? He was already acting this way for days and days before. And, I also pointed out, Ned rolled his eyes at me when I said it on that show we were on. I think Daniel Dotson being there at that deposition just served as more intimidation for Mickey. He didn't show up to any of the other depositions. Now, I'm sure he could have read the transcripts, right? But is that what a lawyer does if they're representing you in something like this? One of my friends who has worked in the legal community in this area for a very long time, so she knows what she's doing. She looked up to see if there was an entry of appearance, I think is what she called it, for Mickey for that deposition. And she said she couldn't find one. And she didn't know if, and she also mentioned that when we read those depositions, you didn't see that any of the other attorneys that were there, none of them objected to him being there and not filing that entry of appearance. If he didn't, because we just haven't been able to find one. And I don't know, I'm not a lawyer, so I don't know if you absolutely have to have one. or not. I'm not sure. But it just makes it, it's just very suspicious, all of it. If Mickey if he had been threatened, which I've heard that he had gotten a phone call. There's something really strange going on. And I didn't realize it. It's never happened to me, so I don't know. I'm sure it probably hasn't happened to many of you, so you're not going to know. But I had someone message me and confide in me. And one of the reasons why they can't come forward is out of fear, but not fear for themselves. It's fear for their family. It's fear for their children. Their children have to go to school in this area. What about kids who play sports? Are they going to be retaliated against by their coaches? Are they not going to be played? And we don't never know what somebody else's intention is, or what's going on in somebody else's mind, why they make the decisions that they make. But a lot of people are afraid, and they're afraid of that retaliation, known and unknown, because you don't never know whose first cousin is who you're having a problem with. You know what I'm saying? If you say something and then find out later, oh, that's their brother or that's their sister. In a small town like this, it happens that way, but this person said that they had been noticing vehicles following them. And they went to a restaurant one morning for breakfast, and they noticed this lady in a vehicle, and then they noticed a man in a vehicle. Then they left there and they went up to a gas station, and they came out and they saw the same woman and the same vehicle. And he thought, well, I don't know if I'm just seeing things or if this is real. And so he left and he went somewhere else. And then he started videoing. He pulled his phone out and he started videoing. And when the video starts, he's backed into a little wide spot. And so all you can see, and he's on one of these highways, like one of these local highways. And so he's sitting back, he's backed up into this little wide spot, and he's got his phone facing the little highway. The highway is going this way. And this woman in a vehicle pulls up in front of him in the middle, in the median, in the middle of the highway, and just stops in front of him and sits there. And there's no other traffic coming. If you're from here, a lot of these roads, there's no traffic. And she pulls out her phone and she starts either videoing or taking pictures of him and his vehicle. She sits there for a minute. And then finally she starts to pull in beside of him. And he rolls his window down and he says, "Can I help you, ma'am?" Real nice and hillbilly-like, And, honey, now she wasn't from here. But she started acting real strange. And I forget if she said anything else, but she said, "You're under investigation." And she hurried up and stuck it in reverse and backed up and took off and peeled out of there. Now that's scary. It scared me for him. And he said that that was just one of many. One of many. And he ain't nobody. He ain't no, I mean, you know, he ain't no big nobody, big somebody. He's just one of us community people who maybe knows a little something more than what he should know, or he knows a little bit more than what other people think he should know. I don't know. But that happened. That's from here. This is happening here. And he's not the first one who's told me of these kinds of events that are taking place around here. It's just the first one that I've seen on camera. It's the first video that I've seen that shows what's happening to these people. Now, I doubt very seriously that that this lady was any kind of law dog. Oh, no, she wasn't. No, she wasn't. Nuh-uh. But that's even scarier. That's even scarier. That's terrifying. Thank you, Miss Lynette. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Let's see. Marie. I was driving through Dry Fork when I heard, I think she's talking about the day that Mickey pew-pewed the judge. I was expecting the bypass, at the funeral, and everything to be shut down, especially by the high school. It was crickets. Yeah, there wasn't a whole lot of people there. I mean, there was a lot. Don't get me wrong. There was a lot. But she's the ex-wife, thought they were still married. No, so she is the one that is the sister-in-law to the judge. She's his wife's sister. So Commonwealth Attorney and the judge married two sisters. So that's how they are. They're not actually like blood related, this Commonwealth Attorney and Judge Mullins. So from what I've been able to find out about Matt Butler, he's not from here. He's from like Michigan or somewhere like that. And he started out from what I can tell, he started out around here in Hindman. And I've had several people that have contacted me and told me about how he started, that he just, with them, said that he just showed up on their doorstep one day after they had been in car accidents. Showed up on knocking on the door, allegedly saying, "Do you have any representation?" And so he ended up getting them as clients because they hadn't gotten an attorney yet after their car accidents. And so I think that's how he started over there, or at least that's what I've heard. And then he moseyed his way on over here. He married the judge's sister-in-law, and I reckon then they got divorced. And I thought he was married again, because there were kids. You know, most of us have kids, and he was always going to the ball games, but it was always kind of a big old whisper behind everybody's back. You know how people are good to do that. That he was with a different woman all the time. It seemed like, anyway. But that just kind of shows you, and he's not the only one, you know, it just kind of shows you the way that things are just so casual. And so he's the one who's got the new Facebook official relationship status. And he's put it up on Facebook that he's in a new relationship. But I thought he was married to the second wife, so I don't know. But when I said it was tone deaf, do you see what I'm saying? With all of this going on, with all of this that has just absolutely ripped this community apart, it really has. That's what you want to put out on Facebook? That you're in a new relationship? I don't know. Just didn't really hit very well with me. Thank you, honey. Thank you. I didn't trust the preacher at all in his video. So getting back to that. Sorry, I went on a tangent. So we found out that when he went on that lunch drop, that he felt that he was being isolated. He felt that he was being lured to have something happen to him. Is it paranoia? Is that an irrational fear? Was that an irrational fear? Or was it a very rational fear? So he gets a phone call where he's threatened. What if he was having people chase him around, following him? Like some of these people around here are telling me that has been happening to them. This one person said if Mickey was being done the same way, they could see absolutely how he felt, was acting that way. Richard Smalley, I think he was given a final warning that triggered what he ended up doing. Well, if he got scared and he didn't go, he was the one driving, remember, for delivering those meals. So what has he said to Michael? What did he say to Michael when we saw on here that Mickey and Michael seem to have words spoken between them before Mickey walks out the door? And I think it looked to me like that was before the lunch run. We don't have the video that took place right before the pew-pew happened. That has not been released yet. But, so back to my point. How comfortable do you think this environment was for Mickey? So he's fired Ben. Now, I've heard Ben hasn't showed his face back up there at that courthouse since he was terminated. But his wife is sitting there every single day. His wife is just one of the bunch. She's one of the boys sitting there. And I would bet that this is an everyday thing. This isn't just a, once in a while thing. This is an everyday thing. And you got Matt Butler over there laughing and ha-haing and hee-heeing with Ben's wife. Are you kidding me? Am I the only one that sees this as like a really bad look? I think she was an actual deputy of some sort. Probably had EMT training and the like. Well, she was the first one, it looks like. Looking at the video, I think she's the first one that gets in there to Mullins after Mickey leaves. Because she runs down that hallway and she turns right there at the right. And that was where the judge's chambers was. So if she wasn't the very first one in there to Mullins, she was a close second. So that makes her an even more important witness. And, you know, I wonder how, I wonder where all the wounds were. They had an open casket for him. So he obviously must not have been hit, you know, here. But I would like to know where the wounds were. And we're probably not going to hear of any of that information until the trial. They're not going to release the autopsy before the trial, I'm sure. Evelyn, preacher needs a deep inspection. He's in on this somehow. I think so too. I think he was. And then him to rush over to Mickey's wife and daughter afterwards, and then come out and do that video and just say what he said. I've got permission from his wife and daughter to say that mental illness is real. And I got another big piece of information. I had heard this before, but I had only heard it from one person, from one source. So I didn't think I should repeat it until I was a little bit more sure. And since then, I have obtained a very, very good source who has told me and confirmed it for me. So apparently, and this is pretty big, y'all. This is pretty big. This adds way more questions, and it branches this out in a whole different direction too. So apparently, before Mickey went to sit for his deposition, I don't know how long before, but it was before. Apparently, allegedly, the judge had a meeting with the judge executive, Terry Adams. And from what I have gathered, they had already handpicked, Judge Mullins allegedly had already handpicked Mickey's replacement for sheriff. Now, I don't think Mickey was going to quit. I think Mickey was going to finish out this term, and then, or at least that's what he told me. He was going to finish out the term, and he wasn't going to run again. So whoever wanted to run, whoever wanted to, win and take over, more power to them. But I had never heard that he was going to quit. And still to this day, I've never ran across any information whatsoever that Mickey was going to step down and retire and quit before the term was up. And so it was pretty much told to me that allegedly Mullins was like, this is who's taking over for Mickey. And the question that brings is, how did they know that they were even going to have to replace Mickey? And why would they have to replace Mickey? That allegedly he was going ahead and getting it in line for after the deposition. There was going to be a vacancy, and that Terry Adams is the judge executive. So he's the one that makes that decision of who fills that seat. And that's exactly who he picked. That's exactly who we see. Now, I said it at the time. I don't have nothing against that new guy. I don't know nothing about him. But the simple fact that he had been on that sheriff's department and had worked with them for so long and under Mickey, we already know how the policies and the procedures and everything seem to be a widespread, systemic failure. Why would they pick? This was what I was thinking. Why would they pick from inside Mickey's own sheriff's department? Why didn't they put someone in there that didn't have anything to do with this mess? Why wouldn't they start completely fresh? But no, since this has happened, you've had several officers quit, resign, transfer from different department, from one department to the next, from one department to the next. They've just, and then, and this is another example of the nepotism that has fueled this mess, okay? So Terry Adams appoints this new sheriff, and what does he do? He hires one deputy that used to be at Neon, hires the other one that used to be at Neon, but here at Jenkins too, hires them on, and then he immediately hires one of them's young grandson, and the other one's young daughter. And I ran into them down here, and they're just driving around the county's car, going to the dollar store, going to the gas station. They're just going shopping. Father and daughter hanging out. And I go in the gas station, and she's super young with her pew-pew on her hip. Proud to have that star on her chest. Well, if I saw her with a pew-pew in her hand, it would absolutely terrify me. She's that young. And I don't care who your daddy is. That's just an example of poor decision making when we are looking at corruption out the yin-yang and in our local law enforcement agencies. And the first hiring decisions you make are these. It's just tone deaf. It's nose blind. They fail to see how that looks to the community. And what is the number one thing that they're supposed to do? Avoid an appearance of impropriety. That's like the number one rule, right? It's like the golden rule of court systems and law enforcement and prosecutors and judges and all of them. You are supposed to avoid the appearance of impropriety. And even if it looks bad, even if you're not doing anything, if it just looks bad, maybe you shouldn't do it. But people have to actually have some kind of a conscience. They got to actually know what common sense is. Butterfly kisses. No doubt preacher stirred Mickey up in the judge's chambers and made it so much worse when they went to deliver only 2 meals. He set Mickey off big time. Well, and I also found out who the female was in the sheriff's department who turned over her phone. So you've got two females who work in the sheriff's department. You've got Lashana, who's been there through like 3 sheriffs. And just in my opinion, because all of these little local elections, when people run for these offices, like the PVA office, the judge executive's office, the sheriff's department, they don't have to keep the employees of the previous administration. They can let them go, and they bring on their own employees, their own staff. And that's just the way that it goes. And so apparently this assistant of Lashana's used to work in the judge executive's office. She worked under Jim Ward. She was a cook at a seniors center. And from what I hear, she didn't really have a great reference. So people who worked with her have told me that it was kind of bad working with her, allegedly. And so then she went over to the sheriff's department and was hired on as an assistant. Apparently it was her who turned in her phone to the state police, because she had some kind of a communication with Mickey before he went over there. And my source said that she was very, very nervous about it all. Very, very, which who wouldn't be, right? Who wouldn't be? We sure ain't picking on nobody. It's just important to have all this context. Once, I've always said it, once you get your foot in the door down there, you've made it. Because then they just move you around. If you lose your job over here, or if this position is no longer there, their buddies down the street are going to open a position and help you get on down there, When you've got a whole lot of power and influence in those ways, then you're pretty much okay. You've got job security. I was thinking about Angie Fields. So whenever Ben pled guilty and served his sentence, and she was all, I'm going to stand by my man. She had 3 options, or maybe more than that. But she could have left, divorced him, or, I don't know, whatever. And maybe that, to me, if I would have been working in this environment, I would have probably felt comfortable. But by standing by her man, and she'd be text messaging him all day, there's so much gossip and backstabbing and stuff that goes on down there in Whitesburg. Anything she would hear or find out, she was in the perfect position to have any kind of inside information that she needed for Ben's case, right? How do you think Mickey felt going in there every day, having to look at her and talk to her and knowing that he's getting ready to lose everything? You think that wasn't a trigger? Just seeing her every day, whether he acted like it bothered him or not. Do you think it did? I don't know how it couldn't. Genevieve, it's a small world after all. It sure is, honey. I kind of went a little bit all around today. I just, my brain is scattered with all of these connections and all of these things branching off in different directions. So why did Angie not leave? Was she benefiting? Was she benefiting financially or in any other way? Well, none of them people were making $25,000 a year, I'm sure. You know what I'm saying? Those were good jobs. Ben made a killing. He made a killing with working court security, with all the money he was making on house arrest, the house arrest system. That was $30,000 or more. There were a lot of benefits that I think were going on, financial and otherwise, in this whole system, this whole setup. This isn't a good old boy club. It's a mafia patriarchy. And most of these people, I said it before, they all have property in Tennessee. I said I didn't think we were talking about great big lake houses. That I thought we were talking about maybe renting a lot at a campground and had a camper down at the lake. Apparently I was wrong. No, these are lake houses. I don't know how big they are. I don't know how much property that they each own. But they all own property down in Tennessee. And from what I've heard from family members of some of these people, they all have it down there. And they're all right around each other. And most of them have had it for a very, very, very long time. So none of this stuff has just, it's not like this is just something that happened that started with Ben. Didn't you say the preacher had served time? Yeah, man. So let me pull that up for y'all and we'll read it. I meant to do that the other day and I forgot. I know, right? Where it's at. Well, there were a couple of these articles that were written by different networks. Okay. I will not squander it. Local man pardoned. Let me go ahead and close that out. Pardoned after multiple rug trafficking charges. There's Tweety Bird, y'all, and there's Governor Bevin. Look at that picture. That's my main man. That's my dude. It's all about being one of the boys, y'all. Michael Clark spent 20 years in and out of prison for 7, count them, 7 different rug trafficking charges in Harlan County. It spiraled out of control, one rug to the next. The rugs changed, but really everything remained the same. It was something that had a hold of me that I couldn't let go, said Clark. A few years ago, Clark was in jail, and he had a moment that made him hit rock bottom. December of 2016 was when I received a letter from my daughter saying her and her brother, which is my son, were done with me. And it finally broke my heart. Oh, really? It finally broke your heart? So it didn't break your heart the first time they said they were done with you. I mean, I can't with this guy. He makes me sick. Because I realized at the age of 38, I had wasted my whole life, said Clark. When he was released 6 months later, he was determined to get back on his feet. I regret some of the things I've done, but in all honesty, all those tests I was put through allows me to share my testimony today. And all those messes are messages now, said Clark. Man. He likes them. What do you call them? I forget what they're called. When he was released 6 months later, he was determined to get back on his feet. Oh, I already read that. Okay. He has gotten back on his feet. He works for Addiction Recovery Care, y'all. Has started his own ministry, preaches across the region, and is a community liaison for the Letcher County Jail. The same judge that I work for now, actually, he had put me in jail, and now we're best friends. We stay on the phone. We communicate, said Clark. Really? We know how you like to stay on the phone there, Tweety Bird. Last week, everything on his criminal record was erased after former Governor Matt Bevin pardoned him. And this pardon opens many doors that I wouldn't be able to open with stuff on my record because I have Class C felonies, which were not expungible. They would have never come off, said Clark. Ain't that interesting? I wonder how much it costs to have this done. Clark said this will open many doors, and he is excited to be able to travel outside the country and to minister. Oh, really? So now he's traveling outside the country. Oh. So I wonder where where Ark has been sending him outside of the country. That's very interesting. That's like my new favorite word. Everything I see is interesting. I will not squander it because I'm so blessed to get that, said Clark. Clark has since reconciled with his family, and he's excited to spend Christmas with his family. You can find his Facebook page for his ministry here. I wonder where that'll take us. Let's see if it takes me anywhere. Uh-oh, y'all. Here we go. Michael Clark Ministry. September 23rd, 2020. Uh-oh. Let's check this out.
Hey, what is up out there, Facebook friends and family, sinners and saints? Sitting on my front porch, sun shining, birds are chirping. I'm just looking back over my life, thinking about how good God has been to me. You know, 20-year time felon, many ups and downs, many struggles, never claimed to be perfect, never tried to pretend to be. Only thing good about me is Jesus Christ. He saves wretched sinners. I don't get on here talking about much other than Jesus. You know, some people get on YouTube and they TikTok or on Facebook and they get all these likes and all these views and comments because they talk about other people, putting them down. And the reason people talk about other people is because when they talk about themselves, nobody could care less. So they get on there and they get famous, you know, putting or bringing someone else down. And such a shame, really, because we've all had a hard life. We've all been through a lot. And one thing I want to do is, you know, just lift up the name of Jesus. I don't want to put nobody down. Everybody's struggling. Everybody's had tough breaks in life. Some of you all on here right now are barely hanging on. Some of you all are struggling right now. Probably been drinking last night, out running the roads, ripping and running. Last thing you want me to do is put you down. But I want to tell you, even while you were an enemy, Christ Jesus came and died for you. I'm not going to put you down. I don't got a hand to push you down. I got a hand to lift you up. No matter if you've done me wrong, no matter if you've never met me, I'm rooting for you. God loves you, and I believe that your best days are in front of you. That all this mess will be a message one day, and all the testing that you've been through, the test will end up being your testimony. I pray blessings, favor, a double portion of his grace and his mercy. God knows we need it. I'm traveling this weekend, got to preach 4 days and 4 sermons in 3 days. So y'all pray for me. Just hold on. Hold on. Things are going to get better. And when you're at your worst, you know, you got to know God's still with you. David said, if I go to heaven, there you'll be. And if I make my bed in hell, there you'll be also. He's right there with you right now, no matter what you're going through. Pray you have a great weekend. I pray relationships are restored. I pray open doors are coming your way in the mighty name of Jesus. Somebody comment what you're grateful for, because I know God's been good to you. He's sure been good to me. God bless you. Have a great weekend.
Do you see why everybody was so fooled, though? Honey, he came in and I just don't even know what to say. I just don't even know what to say about it. Let's look at another one.
Hey, what's up out there, Facebook friends and family, sinners and saints? 1 o'clock, I just happened to pop up on your news feed. It ain't by coincidence. Came by to encourage you. Every season is what I'm listening to. Why would he fail now? He won't. Listen, no matter what you've been through, you've been around a tough, trying time, an atmosphere that was challenging. People you thought was there for you, they ain't. People you helped have turned and slandered and blasted your name. God gonna handle that. Trust me. God gonna handle that. But I came by here to tell you that God's faithfulness remains. His word remains. And he's a provider. He told the disciples, go down there and catch that first fish. It'll have a coin in its mouth. That'll be your fare. That'll be your wage to get into the temple. God will provide any way. God will provide how he wants. God will put strangers in your life because your family didn't support you. You got to believe and you got to want this season to change. Quit talking about being sick. Quit talking about what happened to you. Start thinking about what's to come. God didn't take anything from you that he doesn't have better for you in the future. I believe it. I'm standing on it. I receive it. And I came by here to tell you, you needed to be humbled. You needed to see who was for you and against you. God took them away. God had them turned because we trusted in them too much. So it was for your benefit to elevate you. And elevation requires separation, glory to God. So if you're ready for that new season, you watch. God going to provide. God going to open doors. God's going to be who God said he is because he's not a man that he can lie. He's faithful. His faithfulness isn't dependent upon our faithfulness because he can't deny himself. Do you receive it? Do you believe it? Are you ready for what's next? And quit worrying about what's behind us because our best days are in front of us and not behind us. Glory to the Lamb of God. Have a great day. Ain't by accident. You lost some things. It's been tough, but you made it. You still standing. Glory be to God because he that is in me is greater than he that is in the world. God's fighting my battles. Have a great day. Hey, what is up out there, Facebook friends and family, sinners and saints? Looking all around, and I'm starting to see signs of life, newness, a new season. Trees are starting to bud a little bit again. You can see the late sunsets in the evening now, and it's almost time to plant a garden. And the Bible says that God is going to do a new thing. Can't you see it? In these seasons, we know that trees, they let these leaves, they let them go, they let them die. Because during that dry season, that winter months, they don't get enough nutrients to sustain them. And if they don't let it go, they'll die. And you've had to let go of some things or it would have killed you. You had to cut some things off or it would have killed you. If some decided to walk away, they was best without you. But they didn't know they was doing you a favor because if not, it would have slowly killed you. But now just as the seed's been planted in the ground in a dark, cold space for a set time, it's about to spring forth. And I believe what you've been carrying is about to spring forth. I'm not much of a motivational speaker, not much of a pep talk giver, but this morning, Monday motivation, I came by to declare the beautiful gospel. See, the gospel's foolishness to those that are perishing, but for us who believe it is the power of God unto salvation, first unto the Jew and then unto the Greek. If you'll look around this morning, notice things coming back to life. I'm not talking in the natural. I'm talking in the supernatural. Look how you're starting to smile again. You're starting to breathe again. You're starting to believe again. Faith is stirring up inside of you again. Oh, I've got a good month coming ahead of me. And I'm excited because I went through a cold, hard, dark season. But I tell you what, I made it. And what I made it through would have broke most of y'all that's criticized me. I know that. But I tell you what, God is faithful. And his faithfulness isn't dependent upon our faithfulness because he can't deny himself. Glory be to God. He says, I'm doing a new thing. Can't you see it? See it with your spiritual eyes, and it'll be manifested with your physical eyes. Get ready. God's going to do it. Have a great Monday. You need to declare it. God's going to do it. I survived. I'm alive, and I'm going to thrive. Have a great one.
Wolf in sheep's clothing, y'all. Shelley, yes, hell is hot, and stop the property preaching. Jesus don't wear a Rolex. You got that right, Miss Shelley. You got that right. And, you know, it really upsets me when people use God like that. Listen, I'm not going to criticize anybody speaking the name of Jesus. Not going to do it. But when you go preaching out of one side of your mouth, and then you go in another room and you do some of the things that this man has allegedly done out of the other side of your mouth, we'll just leave it there. Okay? We'll just leave that there. Let me pull this other one up here that we got. And it isn't of him a preaching. And do you guys see why people were so fooled? Because people they hit the rock bottom. You know, a lot of times when people are searching for God and they're searching for some salvation, they're searching for something new. They're searching for something. They're searching for God. And somebody like this comes along who says all the right things. You better believe that devil knows every word of the Bible. He knows every single word of it. And he'll use it. Let me get over here to this. Here. So this is an interview that was done. So let's watch it. And it gives you a little bit more look. Now remember, I said that the SOAR Summit, the SOAR organization, put all these people together. That's what their thing is.
If they're going to call you a drug dealer, I wanted to be the best drug dealer out there. I wanted to be the best convict out there. You call me an addict, I'll show you I can do more drugs than anybody else. I'll be a supreme addict. Grew up here in Eastern Kentucky my whole life. Had a pretty normal childhood growing up. And then I started trying drugs in high school, and I liked drugs. I thought that was what everyone did. I thought it was cool. We'd play a football game on Friday night. We'd drink, party after the game. I'd went off to the University of Kentucky out of high school. My drug increased and my schoolwork decreased. I eventually dropped out of school, moved back home, went into the coal mining business with my father. I thought the change of scenery would be the end of my drug problems, but it wasn't. This followed me for about 25 years of my life. I started picking up felonies in my early 20s. I had children come along. I thought when my daughter would be born that would be the opportunity that I might quit. But I wasn't there to see my daughter be born. 20 years, 7 felonies later, a decade in and out of institutions, I found myself at rock bottom. This was in 2016. I was finishing out my 3-year prison sentence, and I'd got a letter from my daughter in the mail. I remember it word for word. Dad, me and Carson have decided to move on with our life. We hope something can make you happy, because obviously we never could. We hope something can make you happy. And she said, by the way, if you're the man that you say you are, then please step out of our lives. And by the way, Carson lost another tooth, love destiny. And that moment broke me. It crushed me. And it wasn't really because anything she was saying was not true. She said something that stuck with me. She said, I hope something can make you happy, because we never could. It was almost like the enemy already had me, but now he was going after my children, making them think they were the reason their dad was the way he was. And I remember laying and crying at night. I cried myself to sleep night after night, but I didn't know the answer. I'd finally realized my life was a wreck. My story definitely took a turn when I met Jesus. I had no idea what different was, because I'd always done the same thing. Get in trouble, get out of trouble, get back in trouble. I knowed I wanted something different. And about a week later, after I laid there and I wanted something different, is when the pastor came in and invited the men there into the gymnasium. And I heard the gospel preached for the very first time. And there was some scripture that he quoted that night that I still remember to this day. And it was Job 2:25. It says, God will restore unto you the years that the locusts have eaten. And he said, what that means is God will give you back everything that you've lost. All the years you've wasted, you can get those back. And I started to dream again. I had went my whole life since I was a child, and I hadn't dreamed. I had gave up on everything I ever wanted. So I said, I'm going to dream again. I'm going to believe again. I'm not dead, so I'm going to go back and finish school. I went back and graduated from the University of Kentucky. I said, I know my record's clean in heaven, but I'm going to apply for a pardon. I got that from the governor. My record's clean.
He deserved
all these things. I never owned a home. I have a 3-bedroom brick home with a 2-car garage down an acre of land. Like, I'm still dreaming.
Where'd you get the money to get that so fast? Because most of us are not able to do that, not that fast anyway.
I'm still believing my best days are in front of me. I couldn't be at my son's baseball games. I was banned from the field. I'm the baseball coach now.
Yeah.
But I know that I have goals.
Yeah, he was the baseball coach. So, the longtime coach that actually coached him, because we're all from the same area, he was the one who I said was my friend. He was my friend's daddy. And he was so proud of me for my transformation. He was so proud of me. Yes, let's have lunch. Let's have lunch. I begged him to help me get an interview anywhere, but with Operation Unite. I begged him. He wouldn't lift a finger for me. And yeah, I still have a little bit of bitterness about all that stuff, y'all. I don't pretend like I don't. That was a really, really hard time to watch this person, just keep getting all of these doors opened and opened and opened. It was like every door he knocked on would fly open and have all these people lifting him up. And they wouldn't do nothing. They wouldn't have peed on me if I was on fire. But what made him get a pardon? Like, what did he do that was so special, that deserved a pardon, that so many of our community members who've also been very successful in their own rights, why couldn't they get a pardon? Why did he deserve it? Maybe I sound a little bit jaded on that. Forgive me.
Today, and I know I have dreams today, and I know I'm willing to get up and put in the work.
My point was that this guy that was in the Operation Unite, who's now the CEO, I might add, he was his baseball coach. He was everybody's baseball coach. He's been the baseball coach for 50 years over there or longer. Great guy. I'm not saying anything bad about him. He's a great guy, and he was a great coach. They gave this person the job, the head coach job, after he had been banned from the baseball field before. Okay, that's going to turn out real great. Well, my boys play ball, and they've played ball since T-ball. So we played over there. We went over there and played them while he was head coaching. And I always take pictures. I always video the games. They had a couple boys on their team that were struggling. They weren't all-stars. They were not the best players on the team. And it struck me because I have a son who struggled. I had one that it came very naturally to, and I had one that struggled. And I had begged and begged and begged Mine's coach over several years to just take 10 minutes out and take him to the side and show him the proper batting stance and the proper way to swing, to hit the ball. Nobody ever did. And I'm talking about our coach. Never did. We get over there to play them, and one of their boys who was struggling was like on third base or something. He had gotten out. I don't remember what happened, but something happened. The play happened, and it wasn't a good play. And the guy who was running the scoreboard, I was up there with him. So we were looking down on third base. The guy up there hollers down at this one and his assistant coach, whoever it was. I don't remember who it was. And he said something about he needed to show that boy what he was doing. He said, he ain't my kid. Now, if he was mine, I'd do it. He ain't my kid. He's on your team. He's a ball player on your team. So that struck me very wrong. It struck me real bad. Some people put on a face to the public, but as soon as they turn around, that face changes.
Each and every day to make those things happen, not only for me, but for my children, my wife, and for this community.
I'm telling you. Just gets under my skin. Gets under my skin. And here we got ARCs. Inside ARC, Michael Clark's story. This video is private, y'all. Let's see nope, it's a private video. I wonder what that means. With thousands battling addiction across Kentucky and hundreds unalived yearly in our communities, ARC brings the discussion and solutions to your televisions. Inside ARC, it's a 30-minute show, and it's centered around real people, stories, and conversations. The show airs Thursday nights at 7 p.m. and again Friday at 10 a.m. on WYMT TV in Hazard. I wanted to be the best rug reeler out there, Michael says. Episode 2 features addiction recovery care community liaison and Letcher County pastor Michael Clark. He grew up in Harlan County, played sports, and was a high-performing student. However, after parties would lead Michael down a difficult road. He spent years battling addiction. Leopards don't change their spots. Now, some of us can clean our act up. A whole lot of us needed MAT. A whole lot of us needed medically assisted treatment. And that seems to, in my experience, it seems that it has stabilized most of us, but the ones who have went into abstinent recovery, have struggled, they have a higher rate of relapse, a much higher rate of relapse. And it's just not very successful in long term. Now, yes, you can have plenty of them that will make it through a 30-day in-house treatment facility. But oftentimes, as soon as they leave that controlled environment and go back home, they end up relapsing. Now, the environment that you go back into is crucial, and it's very important. If you have something, I've seen a lot of people, they got really good jobs, and, they kind of got their lives together, and they reconciled with their families, their children. But what happens is life happens. Something happens. And it could be as small as I got out of bed on the wrong side this morning, and my emotional state just couldn't handle it. But it could be as small as that. But it could also be as big as my mother passed away, or, I lost my grandma, or I lost my job, or, any combination. You name something, and that could be the reason. Something happens, and it throws you for a loop, and it throws them back in. So many of these people that were given jobs at ARC relapsed. A whole bunch of them did. Is Clark any different? Is he special that he couldn't mess up? I mean, it seems to me like he continuously lived this kind of lifestyle, And we've done heard a lot of the accusations against Clark. Money can be very addictive. Not just money. You got all kinds of gambling that's going on in this town. You got a whole bunch of card playing and gambling that goes on within the elected officials. That good old boys club. Mickey's house ain't the only one that they had a card game at. You had a lot of money changing hands in lots of different ways. I have goals and dreams today, which we all do. A few years ago, Michael entered treatment, and as the old saying goes, the rest is history. I started to dream again, said Clark. I had gone my whole life since I was a child, and I hadn't dreamed. I had given up on everything I had ever wanted. Clark finished his education, earning a degree. He now works in jails, courtrooms, and communities across eastern Kentucky, helping others discover long-term recovery. Possibly most importantly, he rooted a church in downtown Whitesburg, got married, and owns a home. I'm still dreaming. I'm still believing my best days are in front of me, added Clark. I couldn't be at my son's baseball games. I was banned from the field. I'm the baseball coach now. I wasn't there to see my daughter start high school, but I helped my daughter pack up, and she's in pharmacy school now. I'm the dad she always needed. Forgive me. I'm a little jaded this evening. Oh, bug. I used the med-assisted recovery. It saved my life. It did mine too, honey. It did mine too. Absolutely. 47 to hit 400 likes. Y'all hit that like button for us. It'll help us. Listen, I'm one of the most unorganized people you'll ever see. I am not organized at all. Okay, so let me fill you in and on this little tidbit, and then we'll end it for tonight. So, I didn't tell this before either because I had been told by a couple different sources, but I hadn't really confirmed it. You know, I didn't know if it was really true or not, so I didn't really know how to say it. Well, now I've confirmed it. It's a done deal. Okay, so I always wondered, where did Michael get all that money? Like, where was he getting all this money for the church and, you know, just all this stuff he was doing? He was driving a brand new car. He was driving a, what are them 300 things? Y'all know what I'm talking about? A Chrysler 300. I mean, he's got a fancy car. And you all heard him himself. He owns a 3-bedroom brick home. That's a lot of money, y'all. Have you seen how much houses cost these days? And he didn't have no damn job. Not before ARC. I don't think he's ever had a job that I knew of. Especially not when he was the best rug reeler in Harlan County. Oftentimes they'll figure out a way. You know, what do we call them, Jess? What do we call them? Hustlers. Them old hustlers. He's a hustler, allegedly. Okay, so I wondered where all this money was coming from, and I just thought that it was coming from ARC. I figured that ARC was putting forth all this money, funding him, funding his church. Because remember, Tim Robinson is a pastor too, or a preacher, says he is anyway. And you know, they always thought that whole bunch thought that they were better than people who were on medically assisted treatment. I mean, I've been to AA meetings and NA meetings where I was told I was not allowed to speak because I just traded one drug for another and I was still in active addiction. And this group that I had went to was only for recovering addicts that were in recovery. Only people that were in recovery could speak at these meetings. If we were on Suboxone, we were not welcome to speak. We were welcome to sit and listen, but we were not welcome to speak. And that was kind of the attitude that they had at first towards anybody who was on that. You know, it was good. It was okay for them to set up a clinic and make money off of the people that were in MAT treatment. But they sure weren't going to hire any of them. You weren't going to be none of their colleagues in any way, shape, or form. And it used to be a lot worse. I don't know, just the difference. There was a very big divide in the recovery world, in the treatment world. And, you know, and if you weren't one of them who had experienced it firsthand, how the hell do you know? You know what I mean? It's kind of like counselors, substance abuse counselors. If you've never been an addict, you've never been in treatment yourself, how are you going to counsel people who have went through things like we're talking about Sabrina and most of us? You know, I ain't no different. I ain't no special. I went through the same things, just in different ways. All of us did, if we're honest with ourselves and everybody else. Yep. So, anyway, he started preaching over in Cumberland at a church, and I don't know what happened over there. I think that was his wife's church, if I heard correctly, that he started at. And then something happened, and they left over there, and they came over here across the mountain, and he started preaching down at Kane Kitchen. They let him come in there and use their dining room. And so he would preach there. Well, then the next thing you know, he started saying that he was the rooted church, the rooted church, the rooted church, the rooted church. And I was like, I thought he made it up. I didn't know that there was a church called the Rooted Church, but apparently there's a big mega church. And I don't know if it's in Louisville, Lexington, Frankfurt, or where, but it's somewhere and in the city. And it's a big mega church. Like, they bring in a ton of money just on Sunday mornings, right? You know, the mega churches probably bring in $10,000 a day on Sunday, if not more. Probably more. But so, and he had met some representatives from this church somewhere along his journey, and he impressed them. They were very impressed by him and his gift of gab. And so the next thing you know, everything he was doing had the Rooted Church emblem on it. And that's what he called it, the Rooted Church. Come see us on Sunday morning at the Rooted Church. And so everybody did. I mean, all the people that were in drug court, a ton of people that was in drug court down there, they were his members. They were going to his church. You know, these were people that were down on their luck. They had hit rock bottom. They were desperate to make it through drug court. They were desperate to get on their feet and not go back to jail, right? I mean, was this really any different? Did they use Michael's church in any different manner than they did the house arrest ankle monitor system? So you've got Ben and that whole bunch over the people in drug court, in these drug court programs at home, and now you've got their preacher. Now you've got their pastor, or you've got this preacher who's pulling them in. Man, so anyway, the next thing I heard a while later was that they, I had heard that Kevin Mullins was going around looking for a building for them to purchase. I don't know who was going to purchase it, but somebody was going to purchase it for him, for his church. And I guess it would have been the Rooted Church is all I know, or it could have been Ark. I don't know. But, so they were looking for a building, and this was right before Kevin was pew-pewed, not long before. And then I heard that Michael had, or his church had ended up buying some property down Isom Way, down towards the old racetrack in Isom. And then the next thing, you know, Mickey goes into the courthouse and pew-pews Kevin. And then the next thing I heard was that Michael was forced to resign from his church. And I was like, well, I wonder what caused that. Well, somebody reached out to me and told me. And then I had a member of his church reach out and tell me. And a member of his church told me that there were a whole lot of questions and accusations against him, allegedly, after this happened, because remember, he stuck that big video up. And he got so much backlash, and there was just so much that was starting to come out, and whispers were being heard and all this. So now the story that I heard was that Michael kind of played it off and told everybody, well, I promise you I've changed my life and I don't do anything and I'm good to go. And to prove to you all that I'm not doing anything and that I've done, we're going to hire a private investigator, and they're going to come in and they're going to look and prove to you that I'm okay. Well, what the church member said was that investigator apparently found something. And they found something that I don't know. It wasn't very good. And they went back and told the church what they found. And he was forced to resign. So now that are the allegations. Of course, everybody's innocent until proven guilty. He's not been charged with any crimes. But that is kind of the rest of the story on that part. So take that with a grain of salt. However it fits in, I don't know. We're going to have to wait and see. I think it's every bit follow the money. I think money is at the very heart and the very root of every bit of it. And I think it has been for decades. But who cares what I think? Yeah. All right, guys. Well, I'm going to go ahead and end this for tonight. We will have another one tomorrow. And, so many of us changed our lives. And, to kind of repeat what Dummy said there, none of us are perfect. We all make mistakes. We all do bad things from time to time. Nobody is perfect. I know the word says that there ain't none of us good. No, not one. I know the Lord knows our hearts, and that's the only thing that I know that I'm counting on, because I'm nobody. I am the prodigal child. The Lord saved me, and I ask him every day to forgive me for my sins. And, I hurt people's feelings sometimes. I say things sometimes that I try really hard to watch what I say, but I say things that I shouldn't say sometimes. I don't know, y'all. I just think there's a difference between making a mistake and, and when we do, we need to own up to it, take responsibility for it and the consequences that come with it. And then just do better, try to do better next time, try to learn from the lesson. Even bad experiences, we can learn from them. You know, the Lord will take what the devil means for evil and he'll turn it around for our good every single time. He's never failed me. He's never let me down. But when people run for these elected positions, they are supposed to avoid the appearance of impropriety. They don't need to be seen down at the illegal gambling house. They don't need to be down there gambling 3 nights a week, playing cards with defendants that they know aren't even allowed in there. People on probation, people on parole, people who are in their drug court. Those things aren't cool. Taking advantage of women who are on the house arrest ankle monitor system. That's not a mistake. Taking your bottle of alcohol into the jail while you're on duty. That's not a mistake. Taking your married coworker upstairs to the bathroom for a quickie. I mean, I don't know. Maybe. Maybe that could be a mistake. I don't know. But not if you work at the jail and in the courthouse. You know, people want to cheat on their spouse, that more power to them. You know, I ain't your judge. But it's not ethical if you work at the jail. It's not ethical if you are an officer of the court and you're coercively R-wording defendants. It's not cool, man. It's not cool. I've been told that oftentimes when they go to lunch down there at that restaurant and bar, oftentimes they have a drink with them. They have a drink at lunchtime. I remember going down there one time to talk to Kevin about something. This was years ago. And I remember leaving there like, what the hell is he on? He was blowed out of his mind. Now, I don't know if it was alcohol or what it was, but that was several years ago. And I don't know for sure that he was doing nothing, but I know that he sure didn't act right. And I have firsthand experience with substance abuse and substance intoxicants. Looked to me like he was drunk, but who knows? There was a lot going on down there, y'all. All right. Let's look at these. Miss Donna, thank you for your super sticker. Lynette Eads, as always, bless you. Hey, y'all, come on. What in tarnation are y'all waiting for? Checkman, thank you for your super sticker, honey. Paula Board became a YouTube member. Awesome, awesome. Miss Christy, Michael's buddy is gone. Who's got his back now? Well, think about it. When after Ben was terminated and he went into the jail to serve his 6 months, they all had his back. They had his back. And then they hired his wife to be upstairs. I mean, that just blows me away. You think that wasn't a trigger to him, to Mickey? I don't see how it couldn't be. I wouldn't be going in there every day looking at her and thinking, oh, hi, honey. Oh, I don't think so. I don't think so. And if he thought he was being if he thought he was being followed, if he thought he was being threatened, if he thought that he was being set up to be the patsy, you know he's thinking about all that stuff, and you think he wouldn't talk to himself? You think all that stuff would not absolute, and it may not necessarily have been that that he was threatened about a certain thing. It also could have just been what he knew. He knew what they knew he knew. You know, you follow me? He knew what he knew. That in by itself would maybe give him a guilty conscience or make him paranoid. Thanks for covering this, Elizabeth. It's so important. Cindy RN. Thank you, honey. This isn't the only case. You know, I mentioned the Patrick Little case. Well, we've got another one that's in a surrounding county. And guess whose county it's in? Ned Pillersdorf. The case of the dentist and his son, this prominent businessman in Prestonsburg. His son unalived one of his employees. Amber Spradlin was her name. Well, he apparently did this way. Well, there was a 911 call that came from that house that night that nobody showed up to. Nobody came. Somebody called 911 that night. Nobody came. And the officials all acted more offended that the family was calling for justice and accountability than having the compassion for the family that this woman was red-rummed. There's a whole lot in that case that looks to me like is opening their own can of worms in Floyd County. And so, you know, we've got a lot of cases that we can look at if you all are interested in following a couple of other local cases that are huge, that also give us examples of incompetence, nepotism, poor policies, you know, not even being aware of your own policies, let alone following them, resignations, judge executives, public records. But this case here, we've kind of gotten more of a foundation built already. So this one's kind of like our go-to that we all kind of already know about. So this is our main one anyway. All right. Well, I will see you all tomorrow. Y'all stay blessed, stay warm, and peace out, Girl Scout. Bye.
You can't hide from hillbilly crime.
You can't hide from hillbilly crime.
You can't hide from hillbilly crime.
You may not know that there's a crew in town. The head hillbillies are making their rounds. Small town whispers loud and clear. The sheriff shot the judge in his chambers chair.
Sheriff got a secret he won't keep. Judge shot dead in his disbelief. A lot of people have some stories to tell. Dark pass away, get the sound of a shotgun shell.
All the secrets spill on down. Voices loud in this old town. From the courthouse to the ground. Rumors fly and they can't be bound.
Neighbors hide behind their blinds. Whisper tales of troubled minds.
hidden lies. Moonlight couldn't mask the cries. Shadows caught in sunlit skies. There's no cover,